Hey guys, so I actually got a really good question a while ago about responding to codes. I'm going to read it right off my phone so you guys can kind of have an idea of what they were asking. The question is, how do you feel being a new grad and how do you deal with nervousness and taking control of the situation in a code when you aren't looking to your preceptor anymore and the doctors and nurses are the ones looking to you for an answer, and how do you kind of make sense of something and how do you answer? So first things first, every code is going to be different. If you feel nervous or uncomfortable with responding to codes, I think one of the biggest things that you can do other than reviewing, like your ACLS algorithms, is going to any code or emergency response that's called. Even if you are not the therapist for that floor, one, you should be trying to go to help your coworker, because you never know, maybe they're caught up or maybe they have multiple patients that are trying to tank at the same time, or maybe it's a situation where you really do need two therapists. Maybe the patient isn't already intubated. It's going to be easier to have two people bagging than just one by themselves while they're trying to get intubation equipment ready, things of that sort. So, go to any code you can, even if it's not your floor, to become more familiar with the process and to get more comfortable with how things are run. Another thing I would suggest is familiarize yourself with your crash carts in your hospital. Know what comes in each one and what doesn't. Oddly enough, in the crash carts in my hospitals, we don't have PEEP valves in them and we don't have bougies. So if someone's asking you for those things or you need those things, you need to know you're not going to find them in the crash cart. Which is kind of funny. I always kind of carry a PEEP valve in my pocket, whether I need it or not, because it's something that you don't use every day necessarily, but when you need it, you're going to be really thankful that you have it in your pocket and within a close reach. Reviewing your ACLS algorithms, going to codes when they do get called, and making sure you're familiar with what's in your crash carts and in which drawers. All of those things should kind of help you start to build confidence. And the more you go to these things, the easier it's going to be to give suggestions, because you're going to have an idea, if it's your patient, what's going on with them. Which is why it's so important when you have patients on a floor to review their whole chart, not just go, okay, Bob is here because he has CHF. Well, is he there for CHF exacerbation? Is there anything else going on? Have you looked at his x-ray? What medications is he on? Is there a possibility that he could have taken too much of something, or maybe his regimen at home isn't being followed at the hospital? There's a ton of things that could be going on with our patients. So it's so important to look at their x-rays, look at their labs, see if there's anything abnormal going on. It might take an extra second when you're really busy at the beginning of a shift, but if anything happens with that patient, you're going to be ready and you're going to know about that patient. What I usually do is I'll have a piece of paper, and if there's anything different going on with my patient, I'll jot that information down. Like, x-ray was, I don't know, consolidation of the left lobe. And if you do see anything unusual in your labs or in your x-rays or in your chart review while you're going over things with that patient, and then you do your assessment and something doesn't match up, go talk to your nurse, go talk to your doctor and say, hey, I'm reading this in the chart. This is what I'm getting in my assessment. I need a second pair of eyes. Because these things are going to be the things that are going to help you stop a patient from having a medical emergency, or are going to be the things that make other people on the floor aware that there's a possible decline in a patient, and then they can kind of start brainstorming ahead of time. Just all of the little things. And like I said, it really comes down to experience, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get. There are going to be days where you don't know what to say, and that's completely okay. We had a code the other day and we had run through every single possible option, and unfortunately we still weren't able to revive the patient, because sometimes it doesn't matter how hard you try or what you're doing. Even if you have figured out what's going on with the patient, sometimes it's too late. And those are things that you're going to have to find a way to feel that emotion in the moment and come to terms with what's going on, and maybe even talk to somebody if you need to. But I think that's the biggest thing with the code, is everybody is scared of losing their patient. And unfortunately, in the world of healthcare, we are going to lose many, many patients over time, whether that is, you know, peacefully because it was their time to go and they decided that they no longer wanted treatment, or because of, you know, a failing body system and the patient goes into cardiopulmonary arrest, or because of a trauma. These are all things we're going to see, unfortunately. And when those things do happen, you have to find a way to cope with them. And like I said, keep studying your algorithms, keep familiarizing yourself with what your resources in your hospital are, and try to attend any emergency responses or codes possible that you can without, you know, jeopardizing the treatment of your own patients, so that you can get more familiar with these situations. It really just takes time, and I know that people hate that response, but that is the biggest thing. Those are the biggest things you can do, is study, practice, and repeat. And over time you'll get more comfortable with what you need to do, and it will become kind of like second nature. You know, you will move to the crash cart when you're able and put together an intubation tray as quickly as possible, or start bagging, or, you know, direct someone for compressions or switch for compressions. It takes time, and you'll get there, believe me. But if anyone else has tips of what makes them more comfortable in the process of taking care of patients that are declining, or, you know, working in a code, leave those tips down below for anyone that may be having those similar doubts or frustrations. Like I said, for me, it's studying, repetition, and repeating, and trying to get myself as much exposure as possible to those situations. But things work differently for everyone else. I wish you the best of luck, and I will see you guys next time.